All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Total Arm Wrestling Show. Whew, guys, I'm just going to queue up our guests here. In the meantime, we are going to talk a little bit about the sponsors. As soon as I get all the housekeeping out of the way here, I'll start admitting people to the room. And I'm also going to quickly monetize this video because that's what we got to do here. First things first, we have, sorry guys, let me bring it up here. I am without co-host for the moment because Jeffrey is off in doing his thing in, where the hell is he? He is in Vancouver at the moment. So he's on his way to the airport. And if you guys can hear me, let me know. He's on his way to the airport. He should be in the room soon. He'll jump in the call or jump in the meeting whenever he gets the opportunity. So let's throw a shout out to Misfit Powerlifting and Strength, Inside Arms, Israel Arm Wrestling Club, and of course, Western Survivor Beef Jerky, which is the greatest beef jerky on the entire planet. Now, we also got to throw a shout out to our Patreon members. And that would be the alpha members we got to talk about. So Ready Go Solutions, Jeff Frank, Bruce Williz, Bryan Koerner, Jon Umpherville, Gary Roberts, Joe Fox, and Mike Dumas. Now, if you guys can hear me, throw me a comment in the comment section here. Otherwise, let's get after it. Gentlemen, Jonathon, how are you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. Waiting for Ryan to get in here. Ryan, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you guys.
All right. It is pretty flawless what we've done here. So we've come in here without any kind of prelude to anything, and we're testing our microphones and stuff on the spot. Very high quality.
Yeah, can y'all hear me okay? This is my first time using this.
This is your first time being on a show?
This is my first time being on Zoom and a show, yeah, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we can hear you, man.
Okay, well, that's good. I figure that you've talked enough shit that you've earned your spot on the show.
Absolutely. Hey,
so,
scary, isn't it?
How do you say your last name, Jonathon?
Breda.
Breda?
Yep.
Okay, I've heard it said about a bunch of different ways. And of course, Ryan Bowen, how you doing, man?
Very well, very well. Ryan, thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Now, Jeff Frank is stuck in rush hour traffic somewhere in Vancouver. And yeah, once again, Billy says the comments aren't working. Remember, there was a delay last time. So hopefully we get that figured out pretty soon. So you guys are here on the show. We have a ton of stuff to talk about. All right, Warren Koerner has made a comment, so we are accepting comments now. That's great. Let's talk about. I mean, all three of us seem to have done that PR thing that you've started across the whole YouTube arm wrestling world.
How did you go? What number did you get?
Oh,
most
man.
importantly, or are you saving that for later?
No, I'll say it. I matched Lachlan's number.
Okay. I saw Marcio did that too. Marcio
but Marcio seems to have crushed it.
Yeah, he did a 75 kilos and he looked pretty good. I haven't seen your video yet, Ryan. How did you find it?
Terrible. Man, it was awful. I didn't rest for it at all. I just kind of did it as part of the normal weekly.
It took me forever to recover from it. I mean, we did several attempts and we pretty much blasted through it. Man, even the second
Jonathon,
attempt,
what was the thing that needed recovery? Was it your wrist or was it your elbow?
It was my elbows, my outside tendon, bicep tendon.
both myself and Lachlan, I did this lift on 4 occasions in 5 days, just with different people coming around, making videos and whatnot. And I developed a really stiff wrist. The ligaments in the back of my wrist took about a week to calm down and not be so stiff and sore. So, yeah, it was a bit of an impromptu thing. Like all of that came about just because I put a poll on my YouTube channel asking my followers what lift would you like me to do, and they chose strict back pressure. And then Herman put it out, kind of a bit of a parody on it, and then Greg Gray, and then then Uncle John got on board, and then everyone's gone crazy on it. So we've seen some pretty big lifts, and some comments as well where people kind of struggle to realize whether or how that lift correlates into actual arm wrestling, and a lot of debate. So, but talk is good.
Well, it's interesting that people would say, how does back pressure incorporate into arm wrestling? I mean, I think we can all speculate on how that would apply to the table.
Well, the interesting thing for me was because I've got data on about 12 different people in the Brisbane club on what they can do for that lift. And interestingly, I know that this lift isn't the be all and end all, but very interestingly, the order of the lifts also correlates perfectly to the order of our rankings in our club. So it is an indication. It's definitely not the only indication, but it definitely is an indication of a strength in one vector anyway, which is of course at least one of the fundamentals. It's one of the 4 fundamentals of the sport. So it's not everything, but it is a big impact for sure.
Yeah. And I got to ask you, how's your mouth doing, man?
Yeah. if you're wondering, YouTube, why Ryan's asking me that, it's actually all right. So I cracked the tooth and went to the dentist, and I expected them to. I was hoping they were going to pull it out today, but they said no, it's way too complex. It needs surgery. So.
Was it from biting down, or was it from eating something?
It's probably just from not flossing my teeth enough, and then it just broke. So it's a big molar right at the back. So they reckon it's got curved roots, so they reckon they need to slice it in half and then drill down into the bone and all this kind of crap. So
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So Jonathon, I got to get into you a little bit here because you're pretty vocal in the chats when we do our shows, and you've called out a few people, myself included.
I just live for your reactions for the comments. I know every time you read my comment, so that's what I shoot for.
Well, Jonathan, it's a good formula straight up. Like, I mean, you'll get your I mean, I've walked this path that you're walking in terms of social media and all that sort of stuff well and truly, and I like seeing people happily declare publicly their aspirations and where they think they can and can't go. I think that's part of the thing that makes the sport enjoyable. So yeah, like I don't know much about you as an arm wrestler at all, but your name in the last month for me has been on the regular up there. So it's good.
Yeah, I've been climbing the top 10 probably for a little over a year now in North America. I'm at the number 4 spot. And, yeah, a lot of those call outs on the show are actually pretty legit. Like, I mean, Marcio, I've already talked to Marcio. I've tried to set up, and I told him I put up money, I'd come to him. I mean, those are real call outs. Ryan, that's just for fun. I just enjoy his reaction.
That's awesome,
I mean,
though, like,
I think it would be fun, but I mean, you super heavyweights, man. I'm a pretty big guy. I mean, I walk around at 240, but I mean, I always end up hurting something when I pull one of you elite super heavyweight guys.
How long have you been pulling, Jonathan?
Just over 3.5 years.
Okay, yeah, that's about how long it takes, isn't it, to really get into the elite level? Like, I feel like if you're
with a lot of consistency in the weight room, and good mentors as well. I mean, between Herman Stevens and Doug Allen, Scott Bertrand. I mean, those were the guys that got me to where I'm at right now. So that's definitely helped me a ton, for sure. Probably fast tracked me a lot faster than most people, I feel like.
So where you're sitting around 240 now? Are you ranked? I'm thinking on the rankings in North America right now. Are you ranked as a super heavyweight, or are you in the lower class?
I'm ranked 242.
Okay.
In the U.S. rankings, I'm ranked first at 231 left hand, and I have yet to pull an IFA tournament. But I mean, like I said, I walk around at 240. I mean, I can cut to 231, no problem. I mean, I just haven't had the opportunity to do it yet. I'll get my first opportunity here in July when I pull Pablo. But yeah,
we got a few things we got to address. Of course, Cody Spurs says, "Wow, the phone camera makes Breda look way taller than he really is."
I've never had someone make fun of me for being short. I mean, I walk around at 5'11", but yeah, he's going with the short jokes for some reason. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, 5'11" and 240. Yeah, you're compact in your frame, I guess. Yeah, so yeah.
Then we got Rosie Royal saying, "Which Ryan is stronger?"
What are we measuring in?
I don't know.
There's not many things I could beat Ryan Espy in, I would imagine, when it comes to physical strength. How long have you been pulling, Ryan? Like, you're a 20-year guy?
Over 20 years, guy? Man. Over 20 years. Goodness. Not 30 years, but there's one comment in here I'm going to read last because I think it's our next topic that we need to unpack a little bit.
If I had to guess, Ryan, if you and me were in the gym and we measured everything, if I had to guess something that I'd be maybe closest to you on, oh, gee whiz.
That's a fun question you've asked yourself there.
I would go raw elbow based side pressure, fully supinated side pressure. That's the thing I reckon I could. All the fundamentals. I don't know. I wouldn't want to take you on in back pressure or pronation or cupping. They to me seem like they're a long way away. But I don't know. I say that because I know I can do 70 kilos on elbow planted, supinated, and just ugly, nasty stuff. So
yeah, I trained that directly for quite a while, and I got my numbers up there pretty high.
Okay. Well, maybe I just tap out.
Well, actually, Kirsten suggests that maybe bench press you can beat me in.
Oh goodness, no! I haven't bench pressed since I was 20.
Yeah,
and I got a bad shoulder. I got a real bad shoulder. Just doing a push up really hurts.
Yeah, I still got a pretty good bench. It's in the neighborhood of 500 pounds, but and I don't really train it anymore. Now, somebody said Don Mazarenko sucks. Now, I think that's going to kind of lead us into.
Are we going to talk about Levon and Michael for the next 30 minutes?
No, we're going to touch on it because I know Ryan's done several videos on it.
I'm sure he's tired of talking about it.
However, but you also suggested that there was a solution to all this.
Yeah.
But do you see it happening at all? I mean, the one obstacle
let me just have I put a poll out on my YouTube channel half an hour ago, and I asked the question, who would you rather see Levon pull, Michael Todd or Dave Chafee? And I've got 217 votes in so far, and 66% of people say Michael Todd, 34% say Dave Chafee. So, and then a lot of comments saying we actually want both, but yeah, so it is an interesting topic at the moment, that whole thing. And the solution that I see is just, it's a couple of steps. It's the first step is just for people like Igor, people like the WAL, Steve Kaplan, to first of all acknowledge that it's essentially impossible to provide your athletes with a season guarantee right now. So I would like to see the season guarantee kind of pause all long-term contracts and make everyone a free agent again, essentially for this year. And then subsequently, after acknowledging that we're not going to get a full season in this year, to establish some individual vendettas and do the individual vendettas cross league. That would be friggin' outstanding. And come up with new contracts, single event contracts where PAL, WAL, and the two athletes share the revenue that's generated. And I think that would work very well for a very low budget production. You don't need a big hall like in Poland for the Zloty do it in a small room. Do it with just a cameraman, and the pullers and a referee, and split that revenue, because I genuinely think that there's a significant pay-per-view revenue out there at the moment. The third-party sponsors are still going to be happy because their digital impact is going to be big, and it's what the fans are dying for right now. So it's something that could fill the gap whilst we wait for a regular season to return.
Jonathon, what do you think?
Well, I mean, my first question would be, like, with COVID and everything, is there some kind of legality where, I mean, is it even possible to say that these guys can and can't pull right now, considering, like, you know, like Levon, he mentioned on one of Michael's YouTube shows saying that he hasn't got paid in over a year, right? Because he gets paid every time he pulls or something like that. I mean, there surely is some kind of clause in the contract like that where if you physically, like, because of, like, what, act of God, right? Something like that. I mean, is there anything like that in WAL or PAL contract when it comes to that?
Bryan, are you under contract?
Not anymore. I was under a 1-year contract from 504, so that expired in June of last year. I was on the verge of signing another one when they said, "Hey, just pause because of COVID coming up."
Well, I signed one. I signed a 2-year contract about a year ago, and I can tell you there is no clause that deals with the pandemic. So I've just been sitting here, and I don't think that, like, there's been really no opportunity for me to arm wrestle unless I wanted to, you know, give up a couple of weeks of my own work to travel to the United States.
Yeah.
Coming back to my province would mean minimum 2-week quarantine. And that would also mean me not seeing my kids for a 3-week period because they're week on, week off with me. So, you know, the whole thing becomes very complicated. But it's been 1 whole year of that contract has gone on, and I've not done a thing with World Arm Wrestling League.
Yeah.
Now, there was some plans in the works, like it was supposed to be Todd Hutchings.
Yep.
But what do you do now? It's out there.
I was 10 days away from getting on a plane to go and face BLM when COVID kicked off.
And I really wanted to see that match.
I was that close. I was ready. I'm sure BLM was ready. It was all happening, and then that pin got pulled. And then, we've been treading water since. But I think the Jonathon and what you talked about there with is there a legality to it or anything like that? There's definitely not. But I think that it's just so obvious right now that the entire world is having to evolve. So that's where I want to encourage people like Igor to not try to just cling on to his way or the highway, and recognize that I think that the PAL will grow more if they pause contracts, pause the season, and go with some individual vendettas for the meantime.
So I guess to answer the question, I mean, I guess it depends, how bad do these guys want the money, right? I mean, so how bad do they want to be find out who's number one, or how bad do they want to stay, getting paid? And
well, that's the thing that's evolving at the moment, and because there are no seasons on right now, the vast majority of guys are putting a lot of effort into their own brands through YouTube and whatnot. We're seeing more and more YouTube channels popping up all over the countries and all around the world, and that's for good reasons. And the thing is, people at the Devin Larratt level, people at the Michael Todd level, and I'm sure many more to come, depending on how long it takes for the world to get back to regular seasons. The thing is, those guys are going to start earning more money on their YouTube channel than they've ever been paid in a league. Now, that's a very fascinating development for the leagues in particular, because suddenly they lose the ability to be the best financial solution. So we're going to start to see leagues need to be willing to negotiate with individual athletes. And an individual athlete like Devin, let's say Devin's making, let's just fast forward Devin's YouTube channel a year or two, Devin might be earning 150, 200K from YouTube directly. And now if he's doing that, he's not going to sign a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year deal with any league. He's going to say, oh, no, yeah, I'd still love to pull with the WAL or the PAL, but I'd like to do it on an event by event basis, Because
Right.
at the end of the day, the WAL and the PAL still produce the best quality content. They make us look like genuine professionals. It's a million times better than pulling in a garage. But we're never going to be able to lock down athletes that are able to earn $200K on YouTube. We're not going to be able to lock them down and tell them they can't do what they want to do.
Right.
I
agree.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that, the level of income that is potentially there for these athletes is far more than they're going to make in these leagues. And when you said contracts may become a thing of the past, I believe that is true. Everywhere except for Europe. I think that they will continue to keep guys locked up under contracts, and it's a whole different ball game over there. Now, let me ask you guys the question. If Dave Chafee beats Levon, how much do we care about getting Levon together with Michael at that point?
Oh, it's still going to happen. No, for sure. I mean, styles make matches, don't they? And so
they do. Yeah.
So Michael and Levon is a very interesting stylistic match. But Dave is the one guy on the planet who may have the raw horsepower to just flat out beat Levon. So they're two very different stories. I think they're both got to happen no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think they both have to happen on similar formats. Like, I mean, WAL and PAL, but mostly PAL. I mean, I think everyone's going to want to see that match on a PAL setting rather than a WAL setting. But that's,
But I know this is crazy and it will never happen. But could you imagine seeing Levon in a WAL arena?
Right.
That'd
be mind blowing. But
it would be.
Why not? If Chafee wins, doesn't it sway the tide a little bit? That maybe the WAL is the superior league.
And that's the thing. Like, if Levon hasn't been paid for 12 months, and Levon starts to see Michael earning significant money, seeing Devin earn significant money, and let's say the WAL says, "All right, Levon, we'll give you a single event contract, where you can come over and pull Jerry Carteret as your opener or something like that." Then Levon would be like, "Yeah, right, I'll do it."
Right.
Yeah. We got Adam in the house. He's with the man behind Western Survivor. And we have a lot of talk.
There it is right there, Western Survivor.
Nice. Yes. I don't have any left. I ate all mine.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting on some more.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So there's two things going on in the chat that we should talk about. One of them is there's some talk about Travis versus Levon Lefty. Now I got to ask the question. Are you guys aware of the last time Travis had a competitive arm wrestling match?
Yeah, it was with me.
How long ago was that?
November 21st.
Oh, it wasn't that long ago. Okay. Was that in a tournament?
Yeah, it was in a tournament, but he wasn't trained up. I mean, he's still in the tournament. I mean, I just couldn't get anything. I couldn't get anything comfortable against him. And, I mean, he flash pinned me both times in the tournament. Overall, I pretty much baited him that I was going to top rolled him and pinned him, but we went to straps off the slip. It was a slip in at the pin line, but we went to the straps, and then he basically went into a hook with me, and then I stopped him and put him down pretty quickly. But I mean, it was just him giving me everything I wanted, pretty much.
The last time that I know of we saw Travis in, I guess what we call the full motivated Travis, was I think Moldova against Georgi Svetkov on the left arm, where
I would agree.
He won that 3-0. Now, for me on Travis and Levon, I think the bulk of fans have kind of lost faith in Travis. I'm not one of those people. I still believe in that man. When I believe that he has the conditioning, the long-term conditioning and strength in this sport is there. And whenever he wants to turn it on, I think he's one of the most dangerous people on the planet. I think that he is the best arm wrestler at winning the manipulations of the match. And by the manipulations, I'm talking the energy of the crowd, the energy of the ref, the energy of your opponent. He controls the setup better than anyone. That's always been one of his best assets. He wins the setup every time. And if he wins the setup and he hits it with timing, I have Levana's favorite, but I Travis for me is a chance if he's motivated.
I agree.
Now,
Yeah, I mean, just grabbing a hold of. I mean, I'm not. I'd say I'm above average, for my weight class for sure. But I mean, I train consistently, and just for him to walk up to the table and just basically get off the couch and pull me, like I didn't have anything for him. But yeah.
Well, Ryan, you're someone who can answer this question. I'm 8 years into the sport, or almost now. So, when were the seasons of conditioning of your body to the rigors of arm wrestling? How many definite seasons were there? Like for me, so far, I would say the first year and a half, you feel totally unconditioned. Then you get excited and you feel like you're all right. Next 3 years, you start to believe in yourself. For me now, 8 years, I feel like I've entered a new chapter again where my elbow can just handle so much more than it could 3 years ago, like so much more. Does it keep coming? You're at 20 years. Are there more chapters, or does it become a maintenance?
Well, it's weird because everything that I have done throughout my career, and when I say career, I had a career in strongman, I had a career in mixed martial arts, a very short one, mind you. I had a career in powerlifting. The only thing that doesn't hurt right now is my muscles, my muscle groups related to arm wrestling. My back hurts, my knees are shot. Every time I do an overhead lift, my shoulder clicks. It's but everything, I probably put the most dedication into arm wrestling training.
Yep.
I've yet to see something happen that's devastating. I had injuries early in my career, but after about year 3, it seemed like everything was conditioned. I think if I were to take 2 months off and then start training again, I'd be back in the danger zone of getting injured. But I don't know, man. It's going to be different for everybody. And I've enjoyed longevity in the sport, but a lot of that is, there's a lot of things people do along the way to either shorten or lengthen their career, and styles also contribute to that. Yeah. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like, yeah, it kind of does. It's interesting when you look at particularly the North American arm wrestling scene compared to the European arm wrestling scene. I feel like that the longevity in the North American scene is significantly better. The Europeans tend to peak much earlier and then hang it up. You don't see many 50-year-old arm wrestlers in Europe still at the same level. Where 50-year-old in North America is not a problem. You're still right up there at 50 if you want to be. So
yeah.
Well, from what I noticed, it's taken a while for just North American guys in general to even gather the concept of the way European guys train. I mean, a lot of them, it's a lot of, sets of 3, heavy strength training. It's not like I know of a lot of guys. I mean, especially training with Doug. I mean, it's a lot of high rep. Just basically everything I do, I just put tension on my hand and fingers. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, there's not really a lot of sets of 3 with side pressure on the cable or anything like that. I mean, but that type of training in North America, from what I've seen, Herman, he's one of those, and I think that's why he's so successful when he goes over there for the most part, because he does train like that. But I don't see many people that do train like that.
Okay, we got a ton of stuff that we want to address in this comment section here, because, and I'm going to apologize now because I'm going to miss some of it, but there's a lot of talk about you, Ryan, versus Schoolboy. What's the story there?
Jesus, man, that's not even one I've been pushing. But Schoolboy for me, I would love a match with Schoolboy for many reasons.
Good for content.
Oh, content-wise, the dude's the most watched arm wrestler on the planet. I
mean, you almost have something like that with you.
The thing about Schoolboy is his brand is built on being unbeatable, and I don't know that he would want to lose a super match. So I don't think they'd necessarily take it. I think he's a better tournament puller than he is super match puller. But I would love a match with him. I think that if I was able to force it inside, I think I'd be fine. I don't think that he has developed his inside game to the same level as he has his outside game. He's obviously taller than me. He's obviously probably got 30 pounds on me or something. I'm right now, I'm 215 pounds. But
I think he's a 220 guy.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't feel like for me, I'm happy to take on anyone at the moment. Super heavyweight is fine. Where my hand and wrist is at the moment, I genuinely feel like I could have a match with anyone and know that I can at least get to my power now. So I would be surprised if he was able to just totally deny me and pin me. I think it would get stuck into a supinated hook. Probably on the lower half of the match, I would scoop him in. And I think I'd be able to win from there. So I think that I would get it 5-1 if I was to take on Schoolboy.
Yeah, and the chat seems to agree with that. And kind of my next question is, RVJ, you guys have had a little bit of back and forth, or is it more than a little bit of back and forth? It seems to be.
Well, I was so happy. I mean, how often do you see RVJ put out video responses to a call out? So for me, that was a victory straight away. That a victory in the sense that he considers me worthy of that video, and subsequently worthy of a match. RVJ for me. I think that I have enough to beat him now. A year ago, I wouldn't have said that, but the strength that I've kind of had increased in this last 12 months, I feel like I'm ready. And there is no match set or anything like that. The reason that I put a video out about RVJ was simply because the WAL released a post on their page asking who should face RVJ in 2021. And I got tagged a lot in it. And so I was just kind of happy that I was tagged a lot in it. And so I put that video out. He put a video response. And honestly, of course, I would expect on paper RVJ to be the favorite. But I actually think the reality is, for me, I feel like I feel confident that I could win. Like it's not a maybe. I feel like I should be able to get the job done. I believe I have better side pressure than RVJ. I believe I have sufficient fingers to prevent him taking my wrist. And if I could get it, and I'm faster than RVJ. So with those three weapons there, I think I could find a position where the match would stop in the straps. And I think if it did stop in the straps, I have more endurance. I acknowledge that RVJ has more wrist flexion. He has more pronation. He has more back pressure than me. But I think I can get around those problems by initiation off the go and sufficient fingers to get the supination in. If I think of matches, if I think of people like Craig Touye, the way he pulls, I feel like I can do a very similar initiation to Craig Touye on RVJ. But I think that I have a better defensive game than Craig Touye once a match stops. And that's the difference. And that's why I think I could beat RVJ.
Jonathon, what do you think of all that?
Well, I think it's a reach. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't really know. The only time I've ever seen you pull was when you did come to Louisiana, Ryan. That was when you pulled Mosier fresh.
Yeah.
And, of course, that was I think I was a year into my arm wrestling career then. And, but I'm not saying you haven't made leaps and bounds in that time, but I think there's a level that you need to start at a certain level first, like maybe, go back to Bishop, see if you can tackle Bishop first and then go from there.
Yeah. And that's a fair
that's
comment.
kind of like me.
It totally is a fair comment. And there's no disrespect meant from me towards the Bishops or the Storm Chilinos or the Jordan Sills or the Frode Hoaglands or any of those sorts of level guys. I think that I could have a match with any of them and it would be a great match and could go either way. But I'm just not going to shy away from the RVJ topic in that I think it could be done. I am someone full of self-belief. If I'm sure the internet knows that already, but I've been the underdog.
You have to have that mindset.
Yeah. I've honestly been the underdog in 8 of my last 10 super matches, and I won all of them. So, and many of those super matches I was laughed at in the lead up, saying it's not even close. So, it's not unfamiliar territory for me to be in that position. And against RVJ, I would expect that same build up, but I think that puts pressure on RVJ a lot. I think he'd be really struggling mentally to stay confident as the favorite leading up into that match, should it ever come about. And we know that RVJ isn't a fast starter mentally either. He likes to ramp up. And I wouldn't make the same mistake Justin Bishop did in the first round. And the mistake being pinning him too fast. If I got Rob in a position of control, I wouldn't pin him. I would feign as though I'm struggling to make sure he continues fighting. I'd prefer to have a long ground out round one, and even perhaps lose round one, as long as it's long and hard fought. From a superior position that I achieved by winning the go, I think I could really lead him around the park. Anyway, RVJ. I don't know if it'll happen. It probably won't this year just because of COVID. But that's one of those things where I'd love to see WAL say, "All right, let's pause all of the contracts. Ryan, if you want to pull RVJ, go for it." And then I just turn up in RVJ's hometown and pull him for a couple of grand.
Now, when you hear Travis and Gary talk a little bit, Travis always brings up the fact that a lot of the guys under contract love being under contract because it gives them a reason to not arm wrestle. Do you think that's true?
I think it's partly true. I not really though. I think that the athletes in the WAL roster, they understand where they're sitting and they understand the importance of big game. Like take Matt Mask, for instance. When Matt lost to Wayne Withers, it didn't help him on the WAL branding side of things. Like everyone's like, well, okay, maybe Matt's not the man. But you know what? I would bet on Matt 100% if he was to face Wayne in that environment where he truly is ramped up.
In a WAL setting, for sure.
So I can understand why the WAL asks their athletes not to, because it's low level. The motivation is not huge. When you've got the big target on you, the other guy is usually amped as anything, and they come in hot, and you're kind of casual, and so yeah. So then they avoid it. They use it as an excuse. I don't know. That's why I love the fact that my business allows me to put money on the table and I don't have to ask for money back from my opponent. So there's no excuse. Like if I put $5,000 on the table and RVJ and he doesn't have to match it, that validates the match right there. Yeah, because he wants that money, and so he's gonna put in his best effort. So
yeah, I agree.
Fair enough.
So Jeff Frank is going through security. I need to tell you guys this story because I might have just got him arrested.
Oh my goodness.
He texted me, said, "I'm going through security right now, and I'm putting my phone in the little tray right now." So I sent him a text back saying, "You still got the gun," just to see if it popped up on the screen.
You're kidding me. You're kidding me.
Well, he might be getting strip searched right now as we speak.
So if we don't hear from Jeff in the next 10, 15 minutes, we know what's happened.
Yeah, he's going to be in trouble. He might be sitting there. Bad things are happening to him right now as we speak.
That's rough.
So somebody mentioned to me that I would look good in a yellow shirt and I should go over to Zloty. Now, I like the fact, like, Ryan, you experienced that, but I'm getting some good comments. You've experienced Zloty, but I think that there's a way that now that a YouTube guy can monetize all the things that he does related to arm wrestling in the journey, the preparation, and heading over there. So it's
8 years ago when I started on my journey and 8 years ago in my head, I declared to myself, I want to become an arm wrestler in a career sense. I want it to be what pays the bills. And I didn't know how it was going to get there, but 100%, yes, it can be done. And you don't need to be a world champ to establish that. And I'm living proof of it. And in fact, the earlier you start, the sooner it's going to come, regardless of where you're as an arm wrestler. And it's regardless of your personality too. You don't need to be a Travis. You don't need to be another me. You're just being yourself but having the willingness to document, the willingness to do it consistently will definitely result in an income. And there's heaps out there that prove it. The thing is, patience is required. I earned $34 in my first 4.5 years on YouTube. So you got to have that sort of patience. But if you love the sport, which we all do, that's why we're in it anyway, then you should be okay with that patience, because you're going to stick around regardless. So doing that is definitely an opportunity for anyone. And right now is the best time of ever to do it. If you are an arm wrestler that already has real world credibility, like a Marcio Barboza or someone like that, you can step into the YouTube space right now. And if you put out content of yourself training, of yourself talking about your build up to your next event, of your opinions on Levan, on your opinions of Igor, you could do that, and within 12 months be making enough that you're making 20, 30 grand or something like that. Like, it's really possible if people do it.
100%. I think it's amazing. Like, Devin Larratt must be making pretty good money right now based on all the estimations of, and of course,
you can go on websites and look at, and it'll give you an estimated earnings. It's a pretty broad window that websites will give you. But if I compare my YouTube earnings to the broad window, it's pretty accurate. But for me, the thing that a lot of people miss and that they don't realize is that the YouTube earnings are the final piece of the puzzle. The first piece of the puzzle, if you're trying to monetize your arm wrestling career in a digital sense, is third-party sponsors. And you've got to get your head around how to give third-party sponsors value. Because they will come immediately. You could 1 month into creating content, once you've got the analytics for your first month, you could go. I would be confident that if someone like Marcio Barboza put out a video every 3 days for a month doing something arm wrestling related, he could land a sponsor. He could land 3 or 4 sponsors willing to pay $500 a month, kind of thing. Like after 1 month. So that's where people have got to recognize they've got to start. They've got to get their head around how they can do that, and then the long-term benefit is the YouTube subscribers and the actual pay that comes through YouTube, because that's a very exponential journey. You'll sit down here forever, and then all of a sudden you'll blow up, and then you're Larry Wheels level. So yeah, or Schoolboy level.
Schoolboy is he's kind of the guy. Or Alex is the guy. Yeah, but
they're driving all sorts of sports cars. Every second post is another sports car. So I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know what they're earning, but YouTube channels of that size are earning, like, some of them are earning as little as $20K a month. Some of them are earning as much as $200K a month. So he's somewhere in between.
I got a couple of, and Patreon's another avenue you can explore for early monetization. But we also we got a couple super chats to read out. So the Aussie arm wrestler says, I'll buy you a beer, Mr. SB. Bang! That's $2.99 Australian. How much is $2.99 Australian? In American dollars.
I think we're worth about 75 American cents at the moment per dollar.
Okay,
Australian.
so it's similar to Canadian.
Yeah.
And then we got Armchair Arm Wrestlers. $5 super chat. Hashtag free Ryan Bowen.
Hey.
What does that mean?
That hashtag's been going around. Neil Pickup started that hashtag when I was getting hammered for everything Khaled. When the internet was hammering me for my opinion on Khaled, the free Ryan Bowen hashtag started by Neil Pickup, and a few people have kept it going. So. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was because you were stuck in Australia.
Yeah. Maybe Facebook jail.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we all saw Khaled get exposed a little bit, didn't we?
Well, poor old Khaled. Khaled's for me was, how do I put it? Khaled was a really strong guy who came onto the arm wrestling scene via the biggest arm wrestling channel there is in Larry Wheels. So he had an immense amount of fans witness him train with Devin, and we all know how Devin trains. He gives you space and he compliments you and he makes you feel good. And when Khaled did that, it was amazing. Then Khaled pulled Schoolboy on the back table and took control of Schoolboy's hand. And we all know Schoolboy has, in the internet space, an artificial level of actual caliber because he beats everyone in New York. And for all the people that are just fans of the sport and don't actually know the sport, they think he's generally one of the best in the world. So when Khaled crushed him, Khaled got elevated to crazy, crazy heights. And it's like all of the fans of the sport that were witnessing Khaled thought that he was so, so good. And so when arm wrestlers that were experienced started saying, well, hey, yeah, it's good. He's clearly a strong dude, but there's a long, long way to go. People started getting real offended. And then clearly when Levan gripped him, it was like, well, okay, yeah, it's nothing. So I don't know. Khaled.
But it sure made things interesting, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Finding a guy like that's pretty rare, but convincing him to focus on arm wrestling, that's a whole different ball game, I think.
Oh yeah.
All right. I wonder what's happening with Jeff. Anyway, no, he gave me an update. He didn't get arrested. He's through security and he's looking for a place to plug in his phone, and he should be here just in time for us to go off the air. But Jonathon, what do you got going on with? What's up next for you?
Well, tomorrow at 3 a.m, I am heading to Tampa, Florida, to pull Joe Galgochi in a left-hand super match. I have the West Coast belt, 240 pound West Coast belt in the PAF league. He has the East Coast 240 belt, and Anthony Latero wants to unify the belts. So I got that going this weekend, and then 2 weeks from now, February 20th, or 3 weeks from now, I got Ron Bath in a left-hand super match at Alabama State.
Nice. So now, if you can get by all those guys, maybe I'll think about having a match with you left-handed.
And I think I'll surprise a lot of people.
Well, there's the Jonathon Breda v. Lachlan Adair left-hand match that would be a great match. I think that you guys have similar anatomy, similar time in the sport, similar in a lot of respects. But I think that would be an interesting match. And I know Lachlan.
I don't have that back pressure though. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got. Well, you've seen it. He's got big back pressure.
You got to avoid that. Yeah. It's not a part of arm wrestling anyway, right? Back pressure.
Right.
We got another super chat. $2 Canadian. Armchair arm wrestlers. I started that hashtag when lockdown started, not Neil.
Did you really? Well, there you go. I stand corrected.
But no, it's funny you mentioned that about Lachlan. Is he planning on going to Zloty this year?
Yeah, 100%. He'll be there.
See, that's if the
event is on and travel is permitted, then myself, Lachlan, Jordan Davis, and Marcus Satirai will be there. That I know for certain. Then there's a bunch of other arm wrestlers from Australia that are going to intend on being there as well. Mario Tembakis, Brett Coots, and then that's probably it. Maybe Ryan Scott as well. But Lachlan Adair, in the 105 kilos Zloty, I think he's very pointy end. Like if the cards fall the right way, I think he could win it. If the cards don't fall the right way, I think he doesn't finish outside the top 6.
Yeah. I actually have plans to attend Zloty this year. And part of that plan is, in order for me to qualify, I have to be, I believe it's top 2 in the URP rankings for the United States in order to do that. So it's either go to a bunch of IFA tournaments and accumulate the point system and, win a bunch of matches and go get the points that way, or I can call out the number 1 guy in a vendetta match, which would be, I'm going to butcher his last name, but Pablo, I think it's Derbendayev. I think he placed 6th last year at Zloty, and I got a vendetta with him at Mississippi State this year to try to achieve that goal so I can qualify.
Honestly, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know that you mentioned the ERPA rankings in the qualification process. I know that was something that the PAL tried to institute at some point in 2019, but it was my understanding that still wasn't like the official thing. I think they're trying to transition to that, but I'm pretty sure anyone can enter Zloty. I think you turn up and pay your money, they'll let you pull.
I mean, I from what I understood, the last year was what, 2019, Zloty?
Yeah,
correct. I believe. I mean, from what I understood from Sean Hancock, he said that in this last year it was supposed to take into effect. 2019 was supposed to be the last year for that, but I could be wrong. I'm just covering all grounds. I mean, I've already pulled Pablo before. I beat him the last 2 times we met, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pull him again just to solidify that first ranking.
Just message Anna Mazarenko there if you are planning on booking, and just clarify that, because I reckon, like I said, if you turn up there with money, they'll take it.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing's for sure, the next day you're banned from WAF.
Yeah, don't have any plans on attending WAF. So.
Oh, we got some stuff going on. Somebody's asking me when I'm competing next. I don't know. Maybe I'll head down there. I was thinking about Morocco's event. He had just announced that he's putting something together for the spring.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Was that assuming that hasn't the restrictions got a lot more strict for Canadians in the United States? Like, don't you have to pretty much plan to fly over here for like a week in order to try to attend?
I have to mandatory 2-week quarantine when I get back.
That's the same thing Australia's been dealing with the entire time. That's why I haven't been able to go to Dubai. That's why I haven't been able to go anywhere. It's just it's a mandatory 2-week quarantine. It's in a hotel at your own expense, and it's literally locked in the room of the hotel. It's not like you can hang out the pool or anything. You're locked in a room.
I get to go home and quarantine, but
no, that's all right. I'd do it if that was the case, but 2 weeks locked in a damn hotel is miserable.
Oh yeah, that's rough. So what do you think about have y'all seen the video? I'm sure you have, Ryan, where Mazarenko, I think it was a video he did with Larry Williz, where he was talking about potentially doing Zloty in Dubai this year.
That is really interesting.
I know when I sat down and had coffee with Igor and Anna in 2019 after the conclusion of the Zloty tour, it was one of the things that they talked about then, that was where it was looking like it was going. So I think that's a good move. It's a central move. I think the money is bigger there. The third party sponsors that would be willing to get involved are bigger. So it makes sense to move it there. And that'd be good. That means one flight for me rather than 24 hours in the air.
From what Herman told me about Poland, it sounds like Dubai would be a lot nicer.
Yeah, I've been to Poland. Now, it wasn't since 2001, but I think I'd rather go to Dubai for a trip.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No offense to the Polish fans. I'm sure there's one of them out there somewhere. Now, we got to ask a question here. Now, they say Ryan, so they might mean either one of us. What is up with that rule where the guys can't get a picture taken with Dennis? And I don't know what.
Oh, yeah, okay. That was the Russian Arm Wrestling Federation released a post about 3 weeks ago saying, saying if you make a social media post with a PAL athlete, i.e. Saplenkov or Vitaly Laletin or anyone, you will be banned from the Russian Arm Wrestling Federation.
Now, is that through WAF?
Yes, which is affiliated through WAF, but it was a directly from the Russian Arm Wrestling Federation. So wasn't met with well. Obviously, it's a very ridiculous statement to say. So within Russia, there's clearly tensions, and I was really hoping that during the 2020 year that all of that was going to have blown over, and we were going to just get back to having a WAF and having a Zloty and all being happy, but clearly not. It's clearly still there, and it's a shocker.
I think the days of arm wrestlers being controlled by federations and leagues is coming to a quick close, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we we still have no sign of Jeffrey, and he's looking frantically, from what he tells me, for a plug-in.
He must
So
have something to say if he's looking.
He's looking
he
frantically for a
yet.
plug-in for his phone.
He's got
Now,
something he wants to say about the TAL or something.
He's yeah. What are your thoughts on the TAL? So
the TAL was a great example of creativity and just acting when the opportunity was there. So the world kind of fell over for arm wrestling, and Jeff really put together some amazing events. The caliber of arm wrestlers that he matched was outstanding. I see he's landed some third-party sponsors that look pretty significant. And so I take my hat off to the guys. It's a big risk. I know, Ryan, you've promoted the sport many times, and Jonathon, I'm not sure if you've ever tried to run an event, but making an event profitable is a challenge. And Jeff seems to be doing well in that regard. So the fact that he's put together all those events with that caliber, I take my hat off to him.
Now, Jonathon, you've participated.
Participated in TAL?
Yes.
I haven't participated in a TAL event, but I did have a few matches that were supposed to be set up through TAL. One of them being in Vinton. Actually, I was going to be the one not throwing the event, but I mean, I saw a post one day that Jeff was looking for somewhere in the United States to hold another tournament, and the venue I helped Chop run Louisiana State this year, and I got him a venue that it holds 1,000 max capacity. It's a private venue, and I was just like, look, I mean, it's not the flashiest venue in the world, but it'll hold 1,000 people. And, even with COVID restrictions, even if it's like 25% capacity, I mean, that's still, you're still lined up for a pretty big turnout, 250 people. I mean, you can have a pretty good tournament with 250 people.
Yeah.
So I presented that option, and he was willing to run with it. And then, well, restrictions got worse, and I suppose we got to postpone it. But yeah, I was really looking forward to that.
Now I have somebody that I have someone that made a comment here towards you, Jonathon. Sheldon Short just said, tell Jonathon that Barry Bourne just posted 17 minutes ago that the March 27th plans are canceled. Can you give me some insight? What were the March 27th plans?
Okay, so actually, it's a funny story. A lot of people don't know because Daniel Mosier jumped on it and basically took the spotlight. But I was actually the first person to comment on one of Barry Bourne's posts. He made a post saying, "I got 10K for best of 5 left-hand match for anyone that wants it." And I went on there and I commented. I said, "I'll take your money." And so he messaged me, we set something up, he blew it up, and then Mosier got into it, and then it just became pretty much about Mosier. But yeah, actually I was the first one to jump on that Barry Bourne money. And I mean, of course I'm going to jump on that, right? But I wasn't getting excited by any means. I mean, I told him, I was like, well, let's find a neutral ground, somebody that'll hold the money, and once we figure that out, then we can go from there. But I mean, I'm not going to commit or get excited about anything till then. But he just kind of ran with it. And he's a funny guy. I can tell you that much. It was quite enjoyable watching that boxing match the other day.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ryan, what's your thoughts on the boxing match?
No, it was terrible. The rounds were too short. First up, the rounds were over before they started, it felt like. But even in that time, he started turning his back and running. And so whenever that starts happening, it's a bad look. But
Barry got some good cardio in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm no boxer, so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm any better. But my nephew was a state and national junior champion in boxing, and when he was 13 years old, and I was 32 or something like that, I got in the ring with him, and man, a 13-year-old national level boxer drills me. Like the fitness, the lack of fitness, and the lack of conditioning of being smacked in the head over and over again adds up quickly, even if they're 13.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we're creeping up to the hour mark, and that's normally where we call our shows. So, I mean, here's your opportunity, for our audience. Plug something. Tell us something that the people need to hear.
Plug something. Well, what can I plug? I can plug. I think everyone in here should go and get another subscriber. Someone who doesn't already subscribe to Ryan Espy's channel. If you enjoyed this video today, go and drag a mate along and say, "Oi, subscribe," because the more this sort of stuff, the better we go. So that's what I'd like to plug.
Yeah. And check out Pound for Pound.
Yeah, while you're at it.
Why not? Jonathon, you got anything?
Well, I mean, I'm wearing my 217 shirt, so go check out Brad Cook's videos. He's some of the best in the business. He's got mine and Chris Chandler's super match on there. If y'all want to go check that out. And
Brad Cook should be the next Arm Wrestling TV, in my opinion. Right. And if and when he turns into the next Arm Wrestling TV, it'll be bigger because it's undoubtedly he does it better. No one makes arm wrestling look like Brad Cook makes arm wrestling look. So, and there's the good thing about Brad Cook is I know that Neil Pickup is a massive fan, and I know that Neil Pickup wants him to film Arm Wars when Arm Wars returns. So, if Brad Cook and he's happy for Brad Cook to release that on Brad Cook's channel. So that might be the moment that Brad Cook takes off.
Now, gentlemen, just as we're signing off here, we have a $10 super chat come through. And it's Ronan Unleashed, so we got to answer his question. Someone was arguing with me the other day about Devin saying he was ducking people for years, never arm wrestled overseas, besides earlier on saying was never best in the world, and was ducking. Thoughts?
Juicy topic, gee whiz. I don't know enough about Devin's decade back then and went around his dominance in 2008. It was before I was watching the arm wrestling scene closely, but I've hung out with Devin. I've hung out with a few key people and heard stories and whatnot of different things. My understanding of it all is that, I mean, Devin didn't duck. Devin obviously pulled Jon. Even that story is very interesting as to whether that was a prepared Jon or a not prepared Jon. Was Devin number one or not then on right? But he did go and pull Pushkar. I know that Devin swears he has wanted Saplenkov forever, and I believe him on that, and that he tried to get Saplenkov forever. So I don't think that Devin ducked it. The only thing Devin has ever ducked is the Nemiroff, the actual tournament itself, or the Zloty itself. I would personally have loved to have seen him pull that tournament rather than just the Vendettas. But at the same time, he was good enough to be in the Vendetta tier of that organization. So, but I would love to see him go to the Zloty turn now and pull it, and film it on his YouTube channel. That'd be a fascinating vlog, if following Devin's journey to the Zloty and going, well, look, I'm old and worn out, but look, I can still beat you all, and you thought I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Jonathon, any thoughts on the Devin Larratt comments and the situation here?
That's definitely not my era. I mean, I don't really know Devin personally, so I really don't have much room to comment on it. I mean, based off, just going through all the videos, just watching the history of arm wrestling. I mean, from what I understood from Arm Wars, after Arm Wars was up, pretty much what WAL kicked off, correct? I mean, WAL kicked off, they were throwing out a bunch of money. I mean, to me, that's what I would be focused on rather than, trying to, necessarily go after Dennis or whoever. I mean,
what's it? As soon as WAL 2017 fell over, Devin put out a video. I remember it very distinctly. Devin was sitting by the pool at the casino in Las Vegas, and he called out Denis Saplenkov for a right arm super match back then. And he expressed in that video for how long he's wanted and for how long he's tried to get this match. And now's the time, with WAL falling over and no foreseeable return at that point in time. His number one mission was a right-hand match with Dennis. And as he described in one of his recent videos, he couldn't get it. They wouldn't give it to him right, no matter what. So he just kind of went, fine, whatever, I'll pull left, despite having trained for right only for over 12 months, and he was only 18 months off his surgery on left. So I think that Devin was definitely number one in the world at one point in time. Definitely the man to beat at one point in time. And he might have, and there was probably debatably a moment where he was left and right best in the world. So,
yeah. Well, I will weigh in on this a little bit. So Devin Larratt comes up through the traditional ranks. He goes to the national championships, attends a WAF or two, and but he grows up and he comes up as an arm wrestler in the toughest province in all of Canada to get to the top of the food chain. He's in Ontario. So he's got the Mike Goulds, the Earl Wilsons, the Greg Boys, and Sylvain Perron right next door. He grits it out, and I watch him as he makes a decision to leave the amateur side of arm wrestling, which is the nationals up through the world championship, and just go after the names, the money, if you will. But he chases guys like Ron Bath until he eventually gets them. He chases John Brzezinski until he gets him. He agrees to super matches with the likes of Andre Pushkar. And you need to remember that this entire time he's maintaining a career in the military. So when the World Arm Wrestling League comes around, he decides to retire. He becomes just an arm wrestler who is a former Canadian soldier. And when they canceled that tournament at the last minute, I was actually the one that sent Devin the message and gave him the heads up about that. And here I am complaining to him about paying for my flight and all this stuff. And he says, I quit my job. So the significance of that, he basically retires.
That year Devin was going to be pulling the 230-pound class, and he was, let's be honest, he was the favorite to win both left and right. And I think the prize was at least 15 grand to win each arm.
It was, I think, maybe even 20. It was significant.
So it was a 40 grand turnaround for Devin right there.
Yeah, to say that Devin hasn't chased and hasn't gone after the big names is kind of laughable. I mean, if you look at his whole career, it's just different. Now that he's a WAL guy, it's justifiable that he would not spend the most of his time overseas. But I don't think he would be against it. I mean, he did go and pull arguably the best left-handed guy on the planet in a left-handed match. So
has Saplankov ever lost left?
Pushkar has beaten him. Pushkar beat him a couple of times, but I think the win-loss record is slanted in favor of Dennis. Yeah. And I mean, he's never pulled a guy like Travis, but
well, I think Devin is in a very I love the position Devin's in the world of arm wrestling right now, with the fact that his YouTube channel is earning enough that he now has the genuine freedom. He is a full-time arm wrestler. He's financially supporting himself, and he can lay his terms down. And if he wants to turn up anywhere in the world, he will. So it'll be, when the world opens up, it'll be very fascinating to see where he pulls next. So can't wait.
Back around the year 2000, I'll wrap it up with this one. I'm holding a tournament in Brandon, Manitoba, right in the middle of Canada. Devin is way out in the east. Luke Reimer is way out in the west, if you remember that name. I phone them both up and they say, nah, I can't come. I know the money's okay, but, I just don't want to be there. Well, I phone Devin and I say, well, Luke's coming. Yeah. He's like, well, okay, I'm coming then. I phone Luke and I say, Devin's coming. He says, well, okay, I'll be there then. So
well played, brother.
Yeah, they both show up. Devin wins. Yeah, so he's not afraid of competition.
Yeah. You got to. That's for me. It's the best thing. That's why I consider myself so lucky and blessed in this, that I get to do this. There's nothing better than seeking out the people that you can't beat yet, and just keep seeking them out till you can't find them anymore. So that's the most enjoyable part about the damn journey, is climbing and chasing and taking on guys that you're not supposed to beat. So.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're over an hour. I appreciate you both very much for coming on the show, and I'll speak for Jeff Frank and express his appreciation as well.
That was good. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Jonathan, we'll talk again soon. Ryan, a pleasure as usual, and we'll be in touch soon.
All right.